But yeah, these are my posters in the back of my room. I didn't choose them, just so everyone knows. I basically auctioned off my wall space behind my camera. So this is Zubair. These are 4 pictures of me, and this is someone. I don't know who that is. Um, but yeah, it was a very low point in COVID where I was just like I asked my friends if anyone wanted to. It's not me in anime form. Don't say that. No, I asked if anyone wanted to put posters on my wall, and then they came up with those. So I'm gonna have those on for the rest of the year, unless I get better posters. If anyone has a poster idea, they want to put it on my wall. Yeah, Florian made this one. Yeah, they're cool and all until friends come over and they're like, "Hey, Luca, what's that on your wall?" And you have to explain them that you're not like. Zubair just watches me as I sleep. I own it. I definitely do, but it's a hard one to own. You know what I mean? I have a poster that explains the posters. That one's on the door already. It just says "brace yourself" on the front of the door. Dude, my banana profile picture. It might come back. It might come back. Okay, let's get started. I don't want to keep anyone. It's been 3 minutes. What's up? My name is Lucca Psaila. I am hosting this workshop with ACM, and all this one basically is I call it less of a workshop, more of like a really interesting conversation with whoever wants to listen. But it's basically going to be about how my summer went. And my summer was pretty cool because I was able to do an internship with a company that I really liked. And so basically, all I'm going to be doing is talking about that. I just want to check if everyone can hear me okay. Everyone can see my presentation. Is everything good? Perfect. Okay. If you want me to talk quieter, just say that. It won't hurt my feelings, but that's fine. Yeah, let's get going a little bit. For all of you who don't know who I am, my name is Lucca Psaila. I'm a 4th-year computer science student. These are some lovely photos I have of myself. The left being the most recent. You thought my last name was Psaila? No, it's Psaila with a P. Yeah, but you can call it whatever you want. It honestly doesn't really matter. Yeah, so I met Shaq. That was really fun. The left, I don't know what I was doing. I was posing, trying to look cool. And on the right was in Joshua Tree. But no, these are just pictures of me. I'm a 4th-year computer science student. I'm going into the master's 1-year program, hopefully in spring, if I can graduate next quarter. I've been part of ACM for about 3 years. I just stepped down from the board last year and passed it on, and everyone's doing really good so far. But yeah, in my free time, I like playing tennis, video games. I run a weekly D&D campaign. Not the best president, definitely. I can easily name 6 other presidents that are better. That's every other president. No, Isaac, I thought that was legit. That's okay. But yeah, these are stupid pictures, and let me move on from that. But yeah, this is just a little workshop that I thought would be a cool idea, and I hope everyone enjoys. This workshop style is going to be a little bit different than workshops I've done before. Normally, what I do is kind of like some sort of informational, kind of like teaching some technical skill or doing something like general meeting wise, where a lot of other people are talking. How it turns out with this one's probably not going to be a lot of that. I hope I don't spiel on for too long, but you know, hey, what's up? Oh yeah, I also want to mention. Oh yeah, I will get to that. But this style is basically going to be more of like me just telling everyone a long story and asking for questions and answering questions during the whole meeting. So if anyone has anything at any moment, please just say it. But the workshop style is basically going to look like this. I'm just like a little idiot talking, trying to give a TED talk. Turn on your cameras, right? Because this meeting is normally going to be in person, and so I'd be able to see all your lovely faces. But now that on Zoom, it's going to be a lot less interesting. And honestly, my presentation will probably be better if I can see you. See, I just got a whole lot happier because I was able to see Isaac and Swas and Roy and everyone turning the cameras on. I really appreciate it. But yeah, this is a very cursed image. I'm going to get out of the way. But yeah, so let's just get right into it. This kind of workshop is about my experience. So a ton of different experiences are completely different. So this is not saying this is what everyone's internship will be like if you get one, software engineering. This is just what I went through. I've already talked to several of the people who have done different things, and they have either stated they've had different scenarios or other things happen to them. And that's just how it goes, right? I'm just giving you my opinion, what happened, and hopefully it helps you, gain some information. So background, the company I worked at is called Rev.com. Rev.com, you might have not heard of it. Probably not, unless you're like if you're a creator, a video or audio creator. Basically what they do is they're a kind of like speech to text company that specifies in audio and video transcription and subtitling. So they do for both like big companies. So say you're like the UC system and you have a bunch of Zoom recordings and you want to get them transcribed. You can send them through Rev, which basically they use AI and ML to, transcribe it. And they also have a workforce of a bunch of people. You can apply to be a Rever, and then you basically do physical transcription, somewhat to that of like you're in a court case, right? And you see everyone that's talking and you're writing stuff down. It's very similar to that. And so I was on their software engineering team. They have about 300 people, and I was on the enterprise team. So the enterprise team basically is you're working with those large companies. So instead of like the mom and pop, say you're just like a YouTube creator and you want to caption your videos, I was working on the company side, so interacting with those people. So yeah, then again, it's just my experience. All right, so this is not for everything, totally different. My application process, I'll go on a little bit of this. It's honestly pretty standard. Who here went to the internship panel? The one hosted just last week. Awesome, that's great. It was really similar to that. You remember how they said a lot of people they apply to a lot of different places. I did a lot of that, and I didn't have the best luck. I wasn't really getting a lot back. A little tidbit of advice: I was a little bit late. I was very late, not a little bit late. I was very late. So if you're doing it, make sure to do it early. Honestly, like right now is a really good time to be applying. To show how bad it was, I applied to Rev and I heard back within the last 3 weeks of school before summer started. So I had already changed my mindset. I was no longer thinking of going into software engineering as an internship. I had already kind of like been talking with professors, and I had heard from other students about going into research. And I thought that was really fascinating. While it was my secondary idea for what I want to do over the summer, it was still really cool. And you can do a lot with that. So you add projects and everything like that. But yeah, my application process, let's see. I'm going to have a ton of stock photos, which I think are hilarious. So just deal with that. Basically how it went is I've been applying to a lot of big companies through like LinkedIn and other sites like that. But I also, there's, the other side of the coin. There's the startup companies. Startups need people to work too. So there are a lot of different websites for that. Little piece of advice, if you're going to as well, I would consider looking at Y Combinator. If you haven't heard of Y Combinator, they're a company that basically specializes really well in investing in companies that are often smaller and helping them kind of like elevate to the next level. And they basically take from the founders, the quality of the founders and the quality of the idea. So they have stuff like Airbnb and like DoorDash. They've like invested in those companies. So if you're interested in doing a startup, I definitely look into that website. They have a lot of job application. But Rev, I didn't get through Y Combinator. Rev, I got through AngelList. So AngelList is another website that specializes in job applications for startups. So LinkedIn is for like big companies. AngelList is for smaller ones. So AngelList is really cool. It's a little bit janky because, you get those like 1 to 2 person companies that specialize in like Bitcoin mining. And you're like, maybe I don't really want to work for that. But one cool thing you can do is to, thank you for the link, by the way, in the chat. One thing you can do is you can sort the companies on AngelList by size. That way you get the biggest of the startups. So that's where I found Rev. It was probably like third or fourth down from the top. It had about 300 people in it, and I just hit apply. It looked very interesting, and they had an internship position. So again, that was kind of like with 4 weeks left of school. And then I got an email back. I got an email from a really nice man named Sam Masari. He was the chief of hiring for interns, and he set up a phone screening, like a 15-minute chat. It was like Saturday at 8 a.m. So I was like, oh God, this is really early. But that tells you one thing, right? A lot of companies start off with a technical screening. So they'll send you just like a coding problem. So this is for, a lot of big companies who just have to cut down the size of their pool in half. Right. So, they need to get through a lot of different applicants, see who's actually motivated, who will take the test. It was really cool because that phone screening basically told me that Rev was really interested in the culture fit. They wanted to see right away, if you're a normal person, if you're nice to talk to, if you can hold a conversation. So I was really interested in that. Had the phone screening. Sam was very nice. We talked about a lot of stuff. I asked him a lot of important questions I think everyone should ask. So I asked about what the wage was, how much you'd be getting paid, because that's very important. How long it would be. It was going to be 10 weeks over the summer. How he liked working there, what his background was, right? You want to make that connection. And, a whole bunch of other steps about, how getting an internship would be. Also, how many other interns there are and what position would I be working on. It was also during this meeting, he asked what I wanted to do. That one caught me off guard because I was so eager in just getting a position. I never really thought about what did I want to do. Like that was a weird thing. Like I was like, what? So when you're going into these interviews, have an idea what you're interested in, right? If you can do the entire stack, where do you want to specify? So he basically asked you, he's like, do you want to do like machine learning stuff on a machine learning team, or are you like a front and back end kind of person? I said, well, I'm looking for a sweet position. I'd like to just get that full experience. So yeah, I'd like to do a back end experience. And so he's like, okay, cool. Because that one little conversation goes a long way. It ended up being how I got placed on my team. That was one of the back end developed teams. So, a lot of these early questions end up being very important. It's like a ripple effect. So yeah, make sure you know what you're about when you go into that meeting. Some more application stuff right after that. About during that next week, I had a technical interview scheduled. I did no prepping for that. So very smart on Lucca behalf. That was a terrible idea. I highly suggest practicing throughout the year, not just in the week before too. But I was kind of already, I was already kind of set on doing that research position. So I wasn't really expecting much. Plus, like the pay was out of the world. I was like, there's no way I can land this. This is ridiculous. And so I went into the technical interview almost like a weird calm. Like I was so not confident in myself that I was confident. Like terrible way of getting confidence, but it worked for that little moment. And so I ended up getting the question, and the question, my interviewer was a really nice lady named Maya. And the question was to detect the case of a haiku in any size string input. So I had one API, and it was basically consonants in word. And you basically pass in a word, and it gives you the number of consonants in the word. And then you have to figure out, how many haikus occur and where. Long story short, I didn't even solve the problem. I failed, which was really interesting because I, went through all this thing. I talked while I'm coding, got to the end, couldn't figure it out. And I kept my wits about me. I talked a lot about what I thought was the right answer, what I wanted to do if I could do it. And near the end, when there's about 10 minutes left and she kind of called it off, I asked my interviewer, I was like, what is the right answer? And she was like, oh, well, normally, you could do this. And she kind of explained it to me, and I asked her questions about her solution. And then, I just kind of kept going, and I ended the interview with saying, hey, do you mind if I copy paste this entire question and work on it after the interview, like on my own? And she kind of was shocked by that and was like, yes, yeah, sure, take it, no matter what. And at first this was just me being really mad because I was like, damn, how could I not get this? Like, that's super annoying. But it went really far. I had a conversation with a friend, and he goes to grad school on the East Coast, and he said a similar person took the same interview, got the same problem, and failed it just like me in the same time frame. and he did not get an offer. So that was pretty interesting in thinking that, wow, that little bit of stupid, stupid passion, like not even, it's just like your engineer at heart. That's kind of like, what's the answer to this freaking problem? That goes a long way. And it was funny because my interviewer, I was on her team, and I asked her while we were working, I was like, hey, do you remember my interview? And she said, yeah, of course. She said, I was like, well, why did I get an offer? And she said, a real engineer is someone who is fighting for the solution and wants to learn more. And you kind of displayed that. You talked to me about stuff. You talked about like if something was wrong, you're like, damn, why is that wrong? And you kind of talked, okay, well, maybe it was because of this. And she was really interested in that. So big point I'm trying to make here is go into that technical interview, not scared if you get it wrong. Jesus. Passion essay. Go into that meeting not even caring if you're going to get it right. Just go into the meeting just, wanting to get the answer. Show that you care. So that's what happened then. Let's see if I'm missing anything else. After that interview, basically I heard back like 2 days later. So that is not very common, right? Because you normally take a bit after the first technical interview to go to get another response. I thought there was going to be another technical interview. There ended up not. And I just got an offer right away. A little bit of reasoning for this. I definitely got lucky. I applied near the end of the application process, and there were spots to be filled that hadn't been filled yet. So they were definitely trying to take people in. And I was able to get a spot. So I don't suggest applying late because this never happens, but I got lucky. And so I got the offer afterwards. I had a coffee chat with my manager and then my soon-to-be mentor. Their names were Mark and Peter. And that was really fun because it was kind of a 2-on-1, and they were talking about, what I felt about the company. I had to really be serious about that one because those are people I was going to be working with. I wanted a good first impression. So that's very important. Say what you liked about Rev, about the company you're going to be applying for. I said what I liked. I liked the application process. I liked how quick everyone was and very nice. And then I got the offer. Another piece of advice I'm going to give right now is when you get your offer, it's going to be a very long document. Make sure to read through it and make sure everything is okay with you, right? They're extending you this offer. Make sure it works. It works for the company. Make sure it works with you. So I had a conflict with my start date. I just think I had something come up, and I was like, I can start Thursday. And they're like, okay, let's just push it back to the next Monday. So they had to resend that, and then I got a new offer. So make sure to read through, make sure it works for you, communicate. There's going to be a lot of emailing, get it settled. Moving on from that application process, the first week. So the first week is insane. I think a lot of people have a lot of, this is like worldwide. When you have a SWE internship, is going to be a lot of the same issues. So some of those issues are meeting people and remembering names, setting up your coding environment, where you're going to be working. That takes a while. Many times they send you kind of like a work laptop or a workstation. You have to set that up. And the reasoning behind that is there's a crap ton of debugging, and they need everyone to be on that same basis level in order to, be able to think some things through, fix some things. How long did it take my environment set up? That first week, it probably took me until Wednesday or Thursday. So it took me like 3-4 days of just kind of sitting there, asking questions, reading through documentation, getting everything downloaded and set up. It's really disheartening because you're like, damn, like I'm just getting paid to do this. Like I'm not even doing anything. And that's okay, right? Don't feel bad about that. Don't feel bad about anything at your skill level, right? You're just trying to get ready so you can contribute something. So take as long as it takes, ask a ton of questions. If anything in the documentation seems confusing, ask about it, because if you mess something up, 8 steps later, it's all going to break and you're like, okay, I have no idea what I did wrong. So definitely be careful when going through that. yeah, so setting up the environment took a while, takes a long time for everybody, but don't worry about it. What was that? Or was it Vince? I mean, hi Vince. Um, and then I got set up with a different software. So for this software, I was using the company Jira. If you haven't heard of Jira, huge. Basically, what Jira is does everyone know Trello? Has anyone heard of Trello before? Okay, well, if you haven't, basically all Jira is okay. Nice. All Jira is basically a ticketing system. So with software engineering, ticketing is just basically the process of creating or finding an issue, hopefully not creating an issue, finding an issue in your product, creating a ticket that describes what it is, and then you assigning yourself to that ticket and then working on it and then moving it through. I'll go into more detail later. We're going to have a little presentation thing about exactly how that works. So basically that's what Jira is. It's owned by Atlassian, probably one of the biggest tech companies no one's heard of. Atlassian's huge, and they have a whole bunch of software engineering tools. I was also coding with Rider. So this was pretty standard across the board. Everyone had to use Rider. It's a JetBrains product. It's the logo on the right. It's just the all-in-one IDE, text editor, everything. It does error catching, all that. So yeah, I had to get used to that one. So a lot of it's getting used to different products. And then take whatever I said just now, and it's nothing in comparison to the giant issue of GitHub. So GitHub was ridiculous. I was terrified for about 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. I was terrified because they just add you to this repository, and there's like 40,000 pushes like total, and there's like 100 branches and like 200 contributors, and you're just like, wait, what? I have to do what? And you're on your own branch, there's features. So one thing I suggest after this whole thing is just use GitHub as much as you can. I even got the same advice when I was a freshman from an older student, and they were like, make sure to use Git and GitHub. And I was like, okay, like I know how to use Git and GitHub. I did not know how to use Git and GitHub. It was really bad. And so it was just scary to do anything. I would just stand at my terminal, like staring at, I'd type the whole message. It was the commit and everything. And I just like couldn't hit enter. So like, I'm going to mess this up right now. It's all right. You go through it, and then, it becomes less stressful, just like anything. Yeah, mind if I push the master real quick? You got to do that at least once. Apparently you had to break something, like you had to, in order to like become a real part of the team. I did, and I'll tell you that story afterwards. I'm going to write that down. Actually, I can say it right now. I was in the office, and we were actually playing Smash with like a couple of team members. And some guy just knocks on the door and then walks in and says, hey, there's a Lucca who broke development. And then I just kind of just freeze, holding my controller. And then my teammate just like hits me, and he like kills me. And he's like, oh, Lucca, you suck. And I'm like standing there like, I just did what? And I turn, after you have to figure it out and fix everything. So that was a little bit stressful. Remember when we were like, how do I do a Git commit, bruh? And I said, me too. Yeah, Yuval had a really good GitHub workshop from last year, and he should host it again. So everyone should go to that. What did I do to break it? Good question. So basically, there are a lot of layers, right? So I didn't break like the full website. It has to go through a lot of different testing. But what I did was I changed basically the way a web page is like displayed. So there is like a pathway to a website, and I was moving everything around because we were getting rid of some functionality. So I removed a whole link. And in doing that, when you clicked on that link, it takes you to a 404 to the next page, and you can't access anything. And so the guy knocked on the door, and he said that, and I sat down with one of my teammates, and we got it working again. Oh yeah, Yuval didn't do a Git shop. It was Isaac who did it. Sorry, apologies. Man, you're never gonna catch me posting on Reddit, dude. Yeah, and Cyrus did another really good workshop. Yeah, no, there are a lot of stories about breaking prod. So that's basically when you break production. So it's just like different repos. So basically, yeah, you had to get settled with that. Our GitHub repo, I'm going to talk very lightly because it's going to be totally different wherever you go. But basically, there's different levels. So each thing you work on is a feature. So say I have an issue I was working on. That was a feature, right? The feature has its own branch. So you have the latest code on that branch. You work on it. And then when you're ready, you put it back. Everyone tests it. If someone finds an issue, you take it back, you fix it, you put it back. And then when this branch is all said and good, every week, the really high ups go, okay, this is ready. And then they boom, move it back into the main branch, which is the actual website or whatever product you're using. But yeah, if anyone wants to talk more about it, it's a little bit too specific and it's too early in the year. I know there's a lot of freshmen in this meeting. I'll talk more if anyone else wants to talk about it. I like older students. So yeah, these are my more stock photos of like my reaction. So that's me on the left for about the first week. I don't even have glasses, but yeah. And then a lot of things were virtual for me. So that's me on Zoom talking to my cool team. Everyone was not wearing suits. Everyone was in like Star Wars t-shirts and hoodies, which was awesome. Yeah, and so that was, that. Yeah, meeting everyone on the team. So my team was about like 12 people. You usually, Isaac Swass, man, you guys are too cool for Star Wars, whatever. Get out of here, get out of this meeting. Basically, teams are basically just, they're focused on different parts of the company. So there's different teams like speech and text. There was user experience, and there was what I was on enterprise. There's like 8 different teams, and each team has different types of people. They have software engineers, they have quality assurance people, and they have product managers and managers. So I'll go in a little bit more detail about who's on what team. What does this slide say? Team structure. Yeah, perfect. So basically how a team structure works is you have a manager who oversees everything. This manager, you can see it's like the fourth from the top. This is someone who's either worked for the company for a while, maybe 5+ years, and they've been on a team and they've experienced other things, so they can become a manager and lead a team. So this is someone who's displayed very, very strong social skills and leadership, and who knows the workspace pretty well. Underneath, you have individual contributors. So at Rev, this is a numbered system. So it goes from IC1 to like IC5, so individual contributor. I was an IC0. Let's freaking go. That's basically just for interns who are at the lowest of the low. But yeah, you usually get throughout the 10 weeks I was working, you see a lot of people get raises, some promotions. So you see people go from IC1 to IC2. It comes with a pay bump. It comes with more responsibility, and you get a shout out in like the Slack, and everyone gets to congratulate you. But yeah, usually go up and then transfer to manager position. And then it was cool because like my boss had like another boss, and his boss had another boss, and then his boss had a boss, which was like the vice president of engineering, and then his boss was the CEO. So it really is a hierarchy. You got like 8 people above you. So that's pretty interesting. And a lot of times you don't know who you're talking to. So I'll talk about this a little bit later. Always be professional, because I got thrown in a meeting once and I just started a conversation with a random guy, and then I left the meeting. And I was like, do you know who like David Kettle was? And they're like, oh yeah, he's the CTO. And I was like, oh, I just asked him like how his day was. And like, I told him I played video games yesterday, and so always be professional. You don't want to get a wrong impression. CTO is the chief technical officer, chief technology officer. So a company is usually broken down into several leaders. CEO, chief executive officer, chief technology officer, as it says at the top of the screen. You have like a finance officer, and they kind of just lead everything. So usually you get the three letter title. You're at the top. Yeah. I also sat down. I was eating with the CFO, so the guy who manages all the money, the finance officer, and he was eating really loudly, and I almost made a comment on it. I was like, dang, this guy really likes his mac and cheese. But I left, and my friend was like, oh yeah, that was the CFO. I was like, oh shit. So, that's all right. Oh, crap. I forgot to record this meeting. Damn. Is it okay if I begin recording now? Is everyone okay with that? Roy, is that okay if I do that?
I'm cool with whatever.
Okay. I'm gonna be legit. Like my mom actually wanted to see this meeting and she couldn't make it, so she's like, "Luca, can you please record this meeting?" So I kind of screwed up there, but whatever. We'll just get going. Um, so yeah, that was that's the different levels. I'm gonna keep moving because we got a lot to go through and we're halfway through. So yeah, important tips. This is stuff that I kind of just ran into through my first week, and I used like the rest of the time. Write things down. So I basically would just like message myself on Slack. That's a cool function if you don't know it. It's basically for taking notes. Anytime anyone told me anything, I would kind of just like really quickly write it down. So I'd be like, this person's name is this and he does that. Or she is a manager for this team that does this. And so, write it down. Remember people's name. Write down those questions because I would have like 20 questions in 1 hour period. And I'd forget all of them. So when I'd write them down, I could come back at a later meeting with, say, a one-on-one with like a manager, and I could ask them those questions. Stay professional always, and stay busy. I'm going to talk more about meetings later, and there's a lot of meetings that are just saying, what did you do today? What did you do yesterday? You have to have something you've done, right? So always be working on something. If you run into an issue, research it a little bit more, kind of, always have something you're working on. Those are my tips. So the rest of the summer. This is basically just everything after week one. I'm just going to be talking about, like during the normal work week, what did I do? This is where a lot of people have like questions like, what the heck's going on? So during a normal work week, you're doing a lot of the basics. It's a SWE internship, so you're going to be doing software engineering. So coding, you sit down, you basically are working on an issue that you've talked to your manager, your mentor about. It's something at your level, not too complicated, and you are looking through the giant code base, looking up resources on your company's documentation, and you're basically trying to figure out what's the problem. You're also having meetings during the week. So meetings, there's different types. I'll talk about it more. There's one called stand-up. There's one called just a weekly meeting. You have one-on-ones, which basically is your manager and mentor making sure you're not like super depressed about working and you're having an okay time. And then there's all-hand meetings, which is basically like all the engineers and everyone from the company comes together. These fluctuate through different companies, but this is the exact process that I had. And then you have events. So you usually have like fun, cool opportunities to hang out with people. Rev hosted a couple. They flew me out to Austin to have like a week-long event, which was like ridiculously crazy. I'd never done that before. I never stayed in a hotel by myself, so that was really fun. And then you have like cool like food events where you can like buy food for free. But yeah, what even is coding, right? Who does that here? No one likes coding. That's why you're not here. Working with Git and GitHub is one of the biggest things. So I did basically all my work through the terminal. Oh, Yuval has a question. How much of your day was taken up by writing actual code versus thinking about it, debugging? So that's a very common question, which is very important to ask about. My average like typing, not much, right? I was thinking about a lot of stuff / like reading through things. So I'd say a majority of it was getting this question. So when you're working on like a giant project and your ticket, your issue is is investigate why this button is not redirecting to somewhere else, or like change this little small thing in the website to some other text, right? Something so simple. You've seen like the YouTube videos of it, but it's really true. You have to go search through folders and folders and directories trying to find where that change is made. And you can even like search it. So if there's a command like grep, where you can search through in a giant code base in your terminal, or just searching through your like IDE, like Writer, you're gonna type in one thing, so you get like a random keyword. So say like the text you had to change was advanced user settings. Search that keyword, it's gonna come up like 20 times. And you're gonna be like, okay, crap, I have to sit through and like look through all of these different things. One of these files is in C#. One of these files is in TypeScript. One of this is in CS HTML. So it's very confusing, and a lot of it is just reading. So answer you, Yuval, a lot of it is reading and understanding what you're doing. And then when you go in to make that change, that probably takes up a lot less time. When you're testing debugging, you're also doing writing. So you do a little bit more there. But I'd say probably 70% of my time was reading and trying to understand things and remembering stuff. So it's a real rack on your brain, but it's really cool to do. So yeah, that's accessing the code base. You have a ton of files and stuff you have to look through, and understanding where everything is located. You work even more with Git and GitHub. So basically, when it comes down to making your commits, and say basically taking all the changes you've done and sending it off. There's a lot of code review. So for anyone that hasn't used GitHub before, code review is basically when you make a change, everyone else in your team and in the company sees your changes. So they can say, oh, Lucca just did this. That's really dumb. Why would he do that? Oh, he's an intern. Like, oh, okay, cool. So that happens a lot. And so you get a lot of people commenting on stuff. You ask people what they think is the best thing to do. You take little screenshots of the UI changes you make and you put it on your peer review, and you say, I did this because of this reason. And then someone can be like, that's really cool. And then some really high up person, I had this happen to me specifically, just swoops in and just says something and then leaves because they're too busy. So they just come down and say, your changes shouldn't be as broad. I would condense them, and then just leaves. And I'm just like, what does that mean? I have no idea. And so you have to kind of like talk to other people and be like, okay, that happened to me my first year. He basically means this. I once had someone tell me that, I'm serious with this. I had someone tell me, and he was like an IC5, so very high up, an experienced software engineer, said, I should dry up my code. No idea. Like, I didn't know my code was wet. Like, what does that mean? So I had to figure out what that was, talk to people, figure it out. But yeah, so you do a lot of collaboration on Git and GitHub. And you have to talk to a lot of people. So you're messaging everyone on your team, other people outside your team. My Slack was constantly going off because I just had so many questions. I didn't want to dump it on one person, so I'd ask everyone. An honest opinion, messaging inside the main chat with like everyone else was really difficult for me. And that's one thing my mentor actually told me. He's like, you need to talk to everyone more often. It was hard because I just didn't want to bother everyone with that message. I would just take my specific question, go to a specific person. But it's something you have to get past. You have to, exclaim what your question is to the rest of your team, the 19-person chat, the 30-person chat. So be comfortable with that. Know everyone knows you're a beginner and trying to work harder. So I've said a couple of times what an issue is. So an issue, that ticket thing I was talking about, the ticketing system, there's a lot of different questions someone might have. So where are they found? So an issue is normally created by a couple different manners. Quality assurance. Quality assurance are like a subcategory of software engineers that are dedicated to testing the system. So they basically go through everything and they say, I found this little error when someone clicks on this and they're this kind of user. And so the engineering team is like, okay, how are we going to fix this? They're found when there's actual feedback from our user base. So we have forums and a user would say, hey, why doesn't this work? And then you're like, okay. And then that gets sent to the engineering team and has to be fixed. And then it comes from just normal engineers who find something while they're developing that doesn't work. How are they labeled? Everyone on the team normally looks at an issue and says, okay, how difficult is this issue in terms of how much time it would take and how much code should be changed? So normally with Rev, issues were labeled on a Fibonacci scale. So that means is the easiest problem that take the least amount of time is 0.5, and then we'll go to 1, 2, 4, 8, and then just continue. It was a modified Fibonacci sequence. So that was really dumb. I was like, what does this mean? And I had to figure it out. So that's how they're labeled. Who picks it up? It's anyone who's either been working with this issue area before or someone who's interested in it. So there's different ways in that. Collaboration, just talking to people. You test it on your own, and then you test it on our live test server. So you have to basically make sure your change doesn't affect anything else. then where does it go when it's done? It moves on to the actual stage, and then you never see it again. So that's how that goes. Meetings, different meeting types. We're going to do a little reenactment. Zubair, are you here?
I am.
Okay, cool. So, Zubair, if you can turn your camera on, we're going to do a little live reenactment. I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to reenact what a normal stand-up meeting is. So a normal stand-up meeting has what I was talking about, like that Trello. So this is what you'll see with the Trello. We made a fake one. So this is what you'd normally see. And as you can tell, there's a lot of jokes in it, but here, I'll be playing the part as like a manager, and Zubair is going to be a normal software engineer. And this is how we're going to start. All right, welcome everybody. Nice to see you, Zubair. Hope you've been having a good day. Welcome to the stand-up. We're going to be doing a little updates. Our product management team has sent in a couple improvements that we need to get working on. So let me go through them real quick. We had one update come from up top. They basically want more ads on the welcome page. So right now we're at like 5 ads, and so we should get like 8 or 10. Our goal is to basically cover up the entire user screen so no one can see or use anything anymore. Also, we need to catch when a user is using 144 hertz on their monitor, and we need to implement that fake screen tearing so that it pisses people off. Also, make sure to add in that Fortnite Easter egg if you click our logo 241 times. Does that sound good, Zubair?
Yeah, sounds good. I'll get on that.
Okay, cool. Thank you for paying attention there. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the stand-up. You go first, Zubair. Just tell us what your last 24 hours were and your next 24 hours are going to do.
So I've been working on the encrypting plain text passwords for the last 24 hours. They're still in plain text. I am currently investigating some algorithms I could use to encrypt those. So in the next 24 hours, hopefully, I will be doing that.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, that one seems pretty important. You should definitely try and encrypt the passwords instead of storing them in plain text. Do you need any help with that? Is that going well?
No, I think I got it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, okay. Any other updates?
That's it for me.
Okay, cool. All right. Last 24 hours for me. I went to basically a triage rotation. So I was working with other users who were having issues. And apparently our site doesn't work in Kazakhstan. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of research on that for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully I can get that fixed. Okay, cool. Well, I hope you have a good day, Zubair. If you need anything else, let me know.
Yeah, man, you too.
So there you go. That's the normal stand-up. As you can see, we played a couple of different cliches in that event. You can see I haven't been checking the chat. There's a lot of random. Yeah, exactly. Kobe's totally right. You see, Zubair was pretty distracted during that meeting. It happens. A lot of engineers are distracted. But yeah, you get a lot of random stuff. So you can see in the left here, there's a backlog. So there's a lot of jokes, but there are is based off a lot of reality. So our backlog, basically all of the issues and improvements we need to do, that's forever filled and you will never get through with it. And you usually go here to pick for different things you need to do when you finish. So when you have nothing to do, you go to your backlog. In progress is where you move it. You can see our names are labeled. So you can see Zubair picked up an improvement from product management that he's supposed to remove all functionality of user creation when the user is on a Mac. All right, so something like that is normally going to happen. He has to encrypt plain user text. And then you have stuff that's under review. So when you finish making your changes, you put it under review, and quality assurance comes and they check it and they test it relentlessly. So they are checking the CEO POV, CEO requests that they are able to see all user data when logged in. Very normal. And then a single word change to our README. I have to make sure fixed is fixed to follow our writing guidelines. Yeah, there's a couple other just random jokes I put in here. So this one's actually real. Our quality assurance person was jiggling a user text file, and he jiggled it so fast that he was able to place it in itself, and it became the parent of itself, and it created circular dependency error. So it became the parent of itself, and it almost crashed everything. So yeah, That's random stuff that happens. Yeah. Thank you, Zubair, for the help. I appreciate it. Yeah, and so a little bit more on the meeting types. The weekly meetings are basically when your entire engineering team comes together and you all discuss the backlog and you discuss more issues that need to be moved up and how important they are. One-on-ones usually happen weekly to bi-weekly. This is when your mentor checks in, you ask them anything you need about anything, company history, how you're doing, how to do something, yada, yada. And then your mentor is someone you can just go and talk to whenever. All hands meetings, 200 plus person meeting. Everyone comes in from any different office and you talk about giant like company wide changes. And then you also have seminars. Seminars, they usually talk about like one of the main popular ones is radical candor. This is the one I did. It's basically when you're working on how to talk to other people. And so someone comes in, HR, and they talk about stuff. And yeah, so this is kind of like wrapping up because we only have like 2 minutes left. My overall experience, very positive. If you're able to get the opportunity to be a SWE intern, I highly suggest it. It's really nice. It's really fun. It's great to put on a resume. And you learn a lot. You learn a lot about the kind of like how the real world works. Granted, my internship, I was put in a position as any other SWE hire would work. So I was fixing bugs and doing stuff like that. There are a lot of other internships that have just a project you have to work on. And that's another, way to do it as well. So, you get experience regardless. I'm just going to say that. So that's the last slide. Does anyone have any questions? I have a couple of random stories if you want me to tell them about other funny incidents that I went through. But I just want to see if anyone had any questions that I could answer. I think Swas is typing something because he's reaching across Isaac's lap. My internship was 10 weeks long. It started a week after school ended and went until August 19th. Good question. Thanks, Brent. Did you learn stuff on the spot? Really good question. Yeah, I learned a lot of stuff on the spot. I basically was coding in a language I'd never done before. I was coding in C#, TypeScript, and I'd never done either of those languages before. So I was basically looking up a lot of things and asking questions. So yeah, I was learning almost everything on the spot, even like soft skills. So like how to talk to people, how to ask a question, how to say something in a stand-up, in which everyone had these important jobs. I had no idea. Kobe asked, did I keep in contact with anyone from Rev? Definitely. I added a bunch of people on LinkedIn, which is very important to do afterwards. You can even ask them to leave reviews, kind of like comments, testimony to your working skills. And then the other interns I also talked to a lot, and they're very nice. How was the commute / did you have to travel / move? So this was set to be virtual, as a lot of other internships were. There was an office in San Francisco, which I lived 40 minutes from, and I went there a couple times. It was like really empty, but a very cool experience. And I flew to Austin for a week. And there was like a company-wide event everyone would go to during the summer. So it was really fun. I gotta leave, but I love you, Lucca. Like 6 heart emojis. Isaac. Oh, thanks, Isaac. I love you too. Another question. When did I know I was ready to apply for an internship? I didn't necessarily know if I was ready. I kind of just knew that it was time, right? I was like, okay, I should probably apply. This is when a lot of people do it. I'm a junior looking for something over the summer. Let's just try it. And I think it was answered as well as it was answered really well by, I think, I forget who answered it on the intern panel, but they basically said, you're never really ready. You just kind of have to do it. And I totally agree. You can always be more prepared for an interview, for whatever, but it's just that jump you have to make to just start applying and start getting out there. Hopefully that answers your question. I got another question. How long did it take for you to get used to the pace of the internship? After about like the second week, I'd say I was like getting in the swing of things. I was no longer like super overwhelmed / like getting exhausted. So I was kind of just like, okay, settle in, wake up, go to this meeting, start working on stuff, getting in the pace. It's just like adapting to any situation, just like how everyone adapts to school again. When you're out in summer and you have to get to classes again, it's a little gradual, but it happens about a week or two. You've all asked, did your professional goals change as a result of the internship? It definitely opened my eyes. I'm still really interested in software engineering because I really like working with people. I'd probably move, maybe not to product management, but I'd like something a little bit more hybrid because for me, coding all day is really exciting because I get to problem solve, but it's a little bit difficult. I'd like to work on like overall ideas and like direction in the company. So maybe I'd work a little bit more product management. I think that'd be really fun. How long was a typical workday? It was a 8 to 5. And I usually take a long lunch, like an hour long. So yeah, and then yeah. Should I apply for internships now as a freshman? My resume is pretty bare. If not, what should I be doing as a freshman? You could totally apply for internships as a freshman. There are a lot of cool like freshman specific programs. So like Facebook has like say Facebook University, I think they still do. And then 2 of our panelists on the intern panel were also freshmen or had like entry level internship positions. So you totally can, but don't take it hard if you get a rejection or not, because you are very young and you have a lot of other things you can do. Your resume is pretty bare. That's totally okay. There's a lot of stuff you can start researching. Like, the internet is like perfect for CS majors. It's all you're about. Look up stuff, like look up resources, ask people questions about what you can work on. Take what things you've learned in school. I know as like a freshman, it's probably very little at this point because you're, barely within your first quarter, but say like, okay, I'm going to be starting to do C++. What projects can I do in C++? And then you like look online and be like top 10 C++ projects to add to your resume. Look through, get some ideas and say like, oh, could I try and build this? Yeah, freshmen, you should definitely try and go to those entry-level hackathons that we have coming up and work on a project, collaborate with people, get good with technology, right? I've heard my dad's told me like a really good like metaphor. If you're a contractor, people are going to ask you, how many houses have you built? How nice are the houses? You are probably all CS majors or around CS a lot. What programs have you made? Like what websites have you built? Get that stuff down. What languages do you know? Start learning stuff, start reading, start researching. So yeah, just take in as much stuff as you can as a freshman. That's my suggestion. Cool. Well, if there's no more questions, it's 3:55. Don't be late to your class. It was really nice talking to everyone. I hope everyone had a good time. These slides were pretty minimalistic, so if anyone still wants them, I can paste them in the ACM Discord if that so happens. And I'll stick in the Zoom call afterwards if anyone wants to stay. Of course. Nice to meet everyone. I'm around on campus. Yeah, I ride a wheel. So if you see me with a giant helmet on, like yell at me, throw something at me, but like at a safe pace, so like I don't fall. And I just walk around with a bunch of other people from ACM. So yeah, I'm hanging around BCOE a lot of stuff. So take it easy, everyone. Hope you had a good time. Of course, I'm not 7'4". Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.